All right. Good morning, good afternoon, all. I think we'll get started here. So thank you for taking a little time out of your day for kind of our first webinar of the year here. My name is Tom Douglas. I'm Diagnomatic, the sales manager for North and South America. And the topic that we're going to be talking about today is using the Diagnomatic software to help you analyze images of the medium-sized ACR phantom. Before we get going, a couple just quick housekeeping items. If you could, please make sure your phone or computer is on mute. We'll have some time for questions later on if you'd like to jump on. Also, if another way to enter questions is via the chat box. I'll be monitoring that throughout the short presentation here. And I think that's about it. So here's quickly what we're going to do today. Past couple ones has been about 30 to 40 minutes, little presentation, Q&A, so get kind of an idea of time. But we're pretty much just going to do a quick walkthrough with the software solution. A lot of you might be familiar with it already, may have seen it. There might be a few on the line that haven't seen it, so I don't want to spend too much time in it, but just kind of a quick walk around through it. And then we'll jump into actually, here's the process of uploading some DICOM images into the software, letting it run, and kind of going through the results that we get, and kind of going through each of the 7 tests that the ACR requires, and kind of pointing some things out to you. And then, like I said, finally, a little Q&A session at the end, and can go from there. So just briefly, again, probably a lot of you are familiar with our company, but Diagnomatic, it's kind of the rebranding of ProProject. Diagnomatic's just not the name of the software. We're putting that name on our phantoms as well. And it's a combination of diagnostics and automatic. And the reason that we do what we do is, we ultimately want medical professionals and patients to have the safest experience when they are reading x-rays, going through MRI. So we're in the world of QA. It's a very, very niche and small world, but that is our overall concern is employee and ultimately patient safety. So software, this kind of landing page, we'll jump into the software here in a moment, but primarily the software, what we're looking to do is we're creating a standardized system for all of your various imaging devices. Really creates a single quality control program that you can monitor from a single location. So whether it's a single clinic with multiple machines, or you have a network machines in different locations, it allows you to track everything in a single location and get to information easy and quickly. The other thing we're going to do is that helps reduce subjectivity in testing. A lot of the DICOM images you have to visually look at, measure, etc. By automating that, it removes a lot of that subjectivity based on if you have different physicists looking at images, if you have different techs that are scanning things for you. It keeps that simple. And ultimately, it's going to save you some time having to analyze data, having to create reports, because again, it's creating that for you. So it'll save you a lot of just filling out manual reports to do things. So it's just kind of a walkthrough of what we do with the process. So the first is actually taking the phantom, obviously taking the place of a patient. We set it on the bed of where it's going to be scanned. We scan the phantom and create a number of images. And then these DICOM images, if a connector is installed, it pushes these images automatically to our cloud-based system, which then analyzes them and sends it back to you typically in about 5 minutes, and you'll get an email verifying that the test was done, get a PDF on it with the report itself, and it's a really, really quick process. So what I'm going to do when we do the walkthrough is actually show you if you were to physically upload those images as opposed to using the connector, but then also give you a few more details on the connector and where that can be helpful. So we do a number of different phantoms that we create, and at this point, most of they're all proprietary right now with the software. So we need to use one of our phantoms for the software to work. So this is the list of the different, for dental, for mammography, CT, obviously, we do different nuclear medicine, little ultrasound, and then the MRI, which we're gonna focus on today. And then just very briefly about the ACR MRI Phantom. We received accreditation from ACR on the medium-sized Phantom last March. We're only the second manufacturer to get that accreditation. JM's the other manufacturer out of California that you're probably familiar with, that's been manufacturing these. So it was a big accomplishment for us. So we're proud of that. The large unit, the 8-inch, so the 7-inch being the medium, 8-inch being the large. We do have one of those units that's in with ACR right now. It's going through the review process. When we'll have that accreditation, don't know, but it is being reviewed currently. And last point is just this is the most recent Phantom that we added to our software. So thought it was good to focus on this and see what we can do here. So next step, I'm going to jump into the software itself here. So now you have to see me twice, not just on camera, but also in our social media feed here. But this is kind of our landing page that shows the number of tests that have been run currently, devices, where you're sitting, walking you through the setup process, your to-do list of some of your different devices that are already loaded into the system, and gives you access to all the different tabs along here. So if we are setting up, new clinic, new hospital, what have you, we're going to start with a location. So we can add a location, choose a little icon, enter the name, some details, and it leaves us with a location. Here's where we can start adding the various instruments we have. So I've got a handful in here for MRI. We've got one with groups. Can walk through that here shortly. Got a mammography machine, got a standard X-ray machine. So I can add all different equipment that you have on site. And the third step is adding test equipment. So I've got 3 different Phantoms in here. Obviously, we're going to look at the Pro MRI, but we've got our full field mammography Phantom here, Pro Digi for X-ray. We're going to enter a new piece of equipment. We go to register, choose the Phantom. This is from the image from before. It shows you the different default tests that'll appear that the software will test. The last bit's important to put in the serial number of the unit. So all of our Phantoms come with a 1-year warranty on them. If you're using the software and you have the serial number registered, it extends the warranty indefinitely on the Phantom itself. So kind of nice for the lifetime of Phantom use. So once we add that, go back to the device itself. We can go to show you a couple things in settings here real quick. This is where if you want to add some details as far as like where, manufacture the machine, if you want to give it a name, where it's located, IP address. Would be important if you're using the connector, and I'll come back to that here shortly. Serial number, but basically it tracks all your different information that you have here. Same with the default tests. You can set how often you need to do these various tests. So whether it's weekly, monthly, every 6 months, every year, can do that with all the various Phantoms and customize it to what you need to use. And the last bit's the tolerances. The tolerances, these are built to the, at least for the ACR Phantom, it's built to the ACR standard. So it within tolerances created by them. So the softwares will look at all the images based on that. So if we're going to create a test, and this is assuming we're not using the connector that's not happening automatically for us. We have some various DICOM images we want to run through the software. So we'll go to add a test. We'll select the phantom we're going to use. Then we go to upload files. And I don't know, you may or may not be seeing this, but got another DICOMs here lined up. Select those, open. And it's going to upload our 12 different slices that we have here. Go to save. And it's telling us it's gonna create a test for us. Now here it's a little reminder saying, hey, make sure that we can use the connector. So while the test is running right now, I'm just going to back out real quick and quick highlight on the connector. So the connector is it's a small node, if you will, that runs in the background. And what this allows you to do is then once you have a connector in a single location in a clinic, single location in a hospital, it allows you then, if all these different devices using internet connection or network connection, then have access to it. So it allows a tech then to choose initially which images that they want to be pushed to the cloud-based solution. And it'll then after that send images automatically. So and again, I emphasize that it's pushing data that you choose and the phantom images. So it's not doesn't require access to PACS. So you're not going to have patient images or data that is going to somehow end up in our cloud-based system. The only relevant information is the phantom images that you've decided and to be pushed to the cloud. And we like to highlight too that it's got the ISO 27001. Typically, it doesn't mean much for us out in the field, but if you've ever tried to install or work with hospital systems and getting software involved, you know that that's never a quick and easy process. So that's one thing to help put IT's mind at ease if you plan on using the connector. So again, the software works with both. We can upload manually, we use the connector, but the connector again just gives you that added benefit of just something is going to happen automatically for you. So going back to the software, once the test completes, you're going to get I mentioned you're going to get an email and a PDF that is going to show you a report. So here's just kind of a example of what that guy looks like. So you're going to start seeing all the various images and the results that we had. So we're going to walk through these here back in the software here, but at least wanted you to see the PDF version as well. And I'm also going to show you too, the other piece that we are adding is ACR actually has a form on their accreditation site. And it's just a lot of you probably know a lot of the record keeping is still done by hand. So what we've laid out here is we're going to import a lot of this data that is needed for that ACR form and allows you to automate that. So I think it could be a tool that could be helpful for those that are doing their testing on a weekly basis and keeping track of it. But then it also hardwires it, if you will, so it's a lot less chance that you're going to get errors. So anyway, we haven't completely added that yet, but that's coming soon, if you will. All right, so here's our various tests. So let's complete the tests. We do have kind of a trending graph here. So as you're continuing to do tests, you can see how each test is performing, whether you're getting, some drop-offs over time. First test being geometry, and this is an area where it's a pretty straightforward test because we're just taking measurements. You can get some variation here over time. You get a bit of that drift that can cause, some of those geometric errors. So this kind of helps you keep an eye on that if you can keep track of that trending data. But here's just the different lines that we're measuring, showing us the results up here, and fits within our tolerances of the the 165 millimeters or the 80 millimeters that's required. So that is giving us a pass test, so it's green. Spatial resolution. So this is the test that is measuring all these different like three-dimensional imaging voxels. And these are, definitely they're all moving different directions. So the resolution can depend on the matrix size, the field of view, and the slice thickness. So even kind of tell here they're don't look quite as visible, but as far as the calculation that runs, it's giving us within that 1 millimeter tolerance range. It just makes it at the 0.9. So consider that a pass test. All right, here are the slice thickness. This is another one that's, it's a measurement one. This one is really reliant upon the positioning of the phantom. So this is where, well, we'll get that little accuracy too, but I mean, we're measuring that just roughly that 5 millimeter thickness that we need to see on there. And again, we're falling within that tolerance range. Slice positioning, and this is the one that I guess is a little more reliant on the positioning. This is the one that's taken where you have the two opposite wedges, and then it runs measurement through those. This is where if the if the phantom's not like lined up properly, the cradle might be off. It's not completely level. This is the one measurement that tend to get thrown off by positioning errors. So that's and again, this got lined up, so we're okay. We're within tolerance here. So our homogeneity test, this is, I guess, relatively simple. What we're using is the percentage image uniformity is the formula that we're using here. And it's looking at the kind of the high and the low end intensity levels, and then analyzes those. And this is another one where you can get if you have problems with this, sometimes it can be from a lack of centering. It's like the patient or the phantom's too close to one side of the coil. You might get some ghosting from motion, eddy currents, if you will, and could just be like a coil failure as well, or components are having some issues. So it could point to there being larger issues. So here our percentages fell just below it, but again, it's something that could be, maybe we just need to realign the phantom, take it again, and see if we can get a passing test. Ghosting at MRI is typically you get because of motion. If you have a patient on, that's going to be from, somebody just breathing, blood moving through blood vessels. With phantoms, it could be caused by vibration of the unit itself. And so what we use here is a percentage signal ghosting. And again, this is just basically taking a formula based on these specific regions of interest. And so we take some of the pixel intensity here, the top end, lower end, left and right end, runs it through the calculations, and lets us know whether or not we fall within that tolerance. So again, this is another advantage, like the software is actually going to do these calculations for you instead of physically taking some of these measurements. And then our last one is the low contrast resolution test. And this is the one where there's a series of discs with small holes in them. You can kind of see them a little bit, but it really comes down to having like a full series of these discs visible. And again, this is another one where that software is good because, depending looking at this image and, what, either looking at a screen or printout or what have you, the resolution's real high on your screen or not, what becomes visible to you can become a little bit subjective. So in this case, didn't have a great scan of it because we didn't get to the full 37. So we want to look into this a little bit more. There is a DICOM viewer that we can get into it see a little clearer than we can there. This is going to give us a little the review above of the 7 tests, but then this allows us to see a bit more. So we can see this a bit more. We are getting like some little lines here, which I think are also causing the issue, and then that could be caused by positioning as well, and why we're not seeing those full set of or full spoke rather of discs. So anyway, it gives you kind of like a brief look of what we're doing with the software. And then within the software, if you're using it, doing other things, there's a little knowledge base area in here that you can get some reviews on, like if you want to add tests. Some of our different Phantoms, we have some videos for setup that'll kind of help you walk through things. The DICOM viewer is kind of similar to what we just looked at. There's last things, my groups, is you can have a number of different people with access to the software. So you could have like an imaging director wants to see it, the medical physicist wants to see it. There may be another tech or another location where somebody wants to have access to these tests. And then you can email these tests to like a number of different people as well. It just gives you that option of keeping something in a single repository and then having a number of people have access to the information within it. So, again, these are kind of the like I mentioned, the reports which are going to get printed out. But that's kind of it in a nutshell. Kind of went through that kind of quickly. I think I did a couple other times, so I think I'm flying through it at this point. So hopefully didn't gloss over anything. But again, really just wanted to be kind of a quick look of, here's how to get through the software, and if you want to show somebody how to actually run a test. The other thing too is we just recently added this, so we're definitely on the hunt for getting our hands as many different like DICOM images as well. And so whether you have customers or whether you're a user of the software or interested in being a user of the software, if you can get DICOM images from the ACR Phantom, it just allows us to optimize the software. And for helping us out with that, we'll give you 3 months free of using the software for one of your customers or for an end user. We can help out with that. Just gonna move on to questions. One that came up the past couple times, and just get in front of it, is we'd ask like, hey, will this work with the JM Phantom? And theoretically, yes, because the dimensions are all the same. It's built for ACR. We haven't physically run it yet, so can't say definitively. So I guess that's something else out there. If you have customers or end users, or even if you have a Phantom that you have access to scan some images with the JM, we'd love to run it through it as well, and kind of confirm what we believe will happen. So we do want to throw that out there as an option. The other question that came up a few times, and I'm going to jump back, and I apologize for keep changing screens on here. Is the other question that came up quite a bit was, some are familiar with our earlier, the Pro MRI versus the MRI, the ACR one, and hey, what are the major differences? And they are very similar. The ACR one is frankly a little bit simpler than the Pro MRI that we have. But really the biggest differences are there's a few more tests that we have available with the Pro MRI. Again, these are not tests that are required by ACR, but we have this vials test and the chemical shift test. And I believe there's a few more slices for the slice thicknesses. I think we have some different levels there as well. But really the highlight is the vial test and the chemical shifter are added on there. So those in the States, typically we're going to be using the ACR version. But in other parts of the world, that Pro MRI is still being used, or those in academia sometimes like it too, because they always more data points the better. I'm happier about that. So those were a couple of questions we had past couple sessions that came up. Didn't know if there were any others, and whether you can just jump off mute if you want to, or feel free to use the chat box on the right if there's anything that comes to mind. And if they don't right now, that's fine. You can always email me after the fact. Happy to get back to you. And again, if you thought there was some stuff in here that was helpful, we are doing a recording of it. We'll make that available as well. So if you think it'd be worthwhile to share with whether somebody else on your team, or you have a customer or end user you think might be interested in it, you can do that and get that to them and give a quick and dirty demo for them. See, question. Chris, if a facility changes their IP address, how do we change the IP address so it is easy to change the IP address in the software? I guess it would fall under the, probably wouldn't do it in one fell swoop. They'd probably have to make a few changes within the software, but it could be updated. So if we had a piece of equipment, when we go to our settings, I mean, here's where we can add that IP address or change that IP address. So I guess it would be, and it may vary from device to device. They might have different IP addresses, so it may not just be a simple like across the board. But yeah, they probably just have to go in and change that. I don't know if that happens very often in facilities. Maybe it does. But yeah, that's where you can make that change within the software. So good question. And if there's nothing else, that's okay. You guys get a little more time back in your day. But do appreciate you guys taking a little time out of your day to go through this, take a peek at this. Like I said, can be available with any other questions that come up. We're happy to help you guys out. So that's it for everyone. Then we'll bid you adieu, and we will be in touch.